What is up guys, it's your boy Solheim here, back with another World of Warcraft video, this time from the War Within Alpha. Now, with this one I'm starting my profession coverage, where I'm going through a gold making guide for that profession. In this one we're talking about alchemy, and I'll be showing you everything that I have picked up from alchemy on the alpha so far. Now for alchemy, this profession is very close to what it was back in Dragonflight, so we're gonna go through all of the specialization points and where to begin. Now when you start doing alchemy, your professions will not look like this. You will have way less crafts available to you, and the more you experiment, the more crafts you will unlock. You have wild experimentations, which you can use various amounts of herbs in order to do, and this one requires 30 herbs and has a chance to teach you something new whenever doing that experiment. Now you can also, when you do this a couple of times to get some skill points, you can then do meticulous experimentation. This one has a 2-day cooldown, only requires 10 herbs to make, and can also teach you brand new recipes when crafting this one. As you can see, you also have different skill points and different difficulties to these crafts as well, and it's worth noting we have a brand new thing called concentration in the War Within. Now this one, as you can see, requires 84 concentration in order to guarantee the highest rank for this skill. So applying concentration here, you can then guarantee a rank 3 for the cost of 84 concentration. As you can see, we have 500 right now, and this is a stat that basically periodically keeps you keep recharging it basically, and then you can spend it on various crafts like this one, or even for example potion crafts, and the more skill you have, the less concentration you need. Going down to a flask for example, well, all of these require 0 right now because of my skill point, but when you find some really difficult recipes that you have to craft as well, and you want to get the highest rank possible on those crafts, you can then spend your concentration to kind of make up for the skill points you are missing. So with the basics out of the way, those are the craftables. We have the harmonious horticulture, which is basically the brand new item that you can combine herbs to make, and then you can make this one, use your skill points, inspiration, resourcefulness, multicraft and stuff like that. We had a similar item in Dragonflight, it's basically the exact same thing again. And then we have various amounts of potions, some of them increasing your speed, and we even have, like, for example, Flask of Tempered Swiftness, increasing your haste by a bunch, and then a lot of different flasks. I have not gotten all of them yet, because you do get them from doing the experimentation. What I will say was that after level 75 in alchemy, when leveling up, you kind of rely on either getting lucky through experiments or doing the experiment. Now doing that experiment, if you want to skill up 25 skill points with only this experiment, that would take you 25 days of doing 75 to 100, unless you get lucky or you go for the right skill tree. So going into skill tree, well, here you can see all the ones that I haven't learned yet as well, the unlearned crafts that we have access to. So there's a bunch more potion, bunch more flasks, we have some vicious flasks, and then transmutations. So you can do some different types of transmutations, and you have 8 available. You can see available crafts 1 out of 8, additional craft in 22 hours and 42 minutes. So transmutes are back, a bunch of different ones in this case, and they have a cooldown recharging, just like they did in Dragonflight. Now going into specializations, this is where things really start getting interesting, and once again it's a lot of the same from Dragonflight with a little bit of a different type as well. There's a little bit of differences. Either way, we're going to go through all of them. It's going to be a long video with me showing you everything and then giving you my thoughts as well. So first of all, we have Alchemical Mastery. This one basically focuses on the entirety of the alchemy profession. As you can see, you gain +3 alchemy skill, you learn a subspec, you learn to craft harmonious horticulture, learn another subspec, then learn to craft formulated courage, another subspec once again. Consequences of experimentations are now humorous rather than deadly most of the time. So sometimes you get a fish on you, sometimes you just get various different types of cosmetic effects on your character that don't really affect you at all. Gain +5 alchemy skill and gain +10 alchemy skill. It's also worth noting that for every single point you put in here, you also get +1 alchemy skill. Now this one kind of goes all the way back to regular craft. If we take a look at a flask craft for example, you can see between the skill, the recipe difficulty, you will have 100 skill baseline, but the recipe difficulty is 300. So going for that first spec, this one, gives you a lot of skill, allowing you to more quickly get to rank 3, aka the highest rank craft, on all alchemy crafts. So it's actually not a bad skill to have. That being said, you might want to go for something else as your first one. It kinda depends, which we'll get into in a little bit. After doing this, you can also specify or spec deeper into certain herbs. So you see Blessing Blossom Lore, this one focuses on the Blessing Blossom, giving you +2 skill per skill point with everything with the Blessing Blossoms. So in this case, it's the same thing over again. It's Blessing Blossoms and the same thing, +2 skill, +5 skill, +5 skill, +5 inspiration. And the starter one increases the chance to discover recipes that use this herb. If all of the recipes are known, instead gain +1 to maximum yield from experimentations with Blessing Blossoms. And another +3 skill, you may now sometimes recover flasks as a result from experimenting with Blessing Blossoms. +10 skill, and the final one, +10 crafting speed. Then we have the same one with Arathor's Spear, we have the same one with the Orbinids as well. I have no idea how to say that one still, I've been trying. And then we have the same one with this herb, which is the Lure Drop. Then we have the Myco Bloom, and it's all basically the same on all of them in this case. Now, what I will say is that going for the first skill tree might not be a bad decision, and also just to get this first one for all of these herbs, this will give you a higher chance to learn new recipes when you're doing experimenting. And for me, for example, I've been doing a bunch of experimenting, I still have learned recipes, and if you want to skill up, you also want to have a bunch of different recipes. When it comes to gold making as well, the more recipes you have access to, the more gold you can make, and the better recipes you have, the more gold you can make. So you can make a very good argument for maxing out regular alchemical mastery for the general alchemy skill, and also just to unlock the subspec, because in order to get this first point from alchemy, you only have to have the subspec and learn the subspec, which is literally free. So in this case, you will have a higher chance to learn brand new recipes when you're doing experiments, which you'll be doing anyway. So alchemical mastery could actually be worth going for. Next up, we can specify into either flasks, potions, or thaumaturgy. Let's start with flasks. So for flasks, we have fantastic flasks, and for every single point you put in here, you get +2 skill point in the specializations when crafting flasks. So once again, referring back to flasks, they have a pretty high, this one for example, skill difficulty of 300, which means you want to have 300 skill when crafting those flasks. In this case, you get +2 for every single one, up to +60 for the entire skill tree. In addition, at the start, whenever you consume a vial or flask, you have a chance to retain the vial. So whenever you're flasking yourself, you can actually get it back, which is kinda nice. And then the duration of flasks and files is increased by 50%, really good for personal use. Learning a subspec, then we have the duration is increased by another 50%, really good for the personal use, and reduce the concentration cost for flasks and files by 5. At the end, you learn to craft Algerian flask cauldrons. Going over here, we have bulk productions. This one gives you 5 multicraft per point. If you want to make flasks and make gold from making flasks, this is what you have to have. This will give you 125 multicraft when you have maxed out everything just from those skill points. And at the start here, whenever you craft flasks, gain spillover. Spillover grants resourcefulness for subsequent crafts within 5 minutes, stacking up to 5 times. Increase the effectiveness of resourcefulness by 5 when crafting files or flasks. The maximum stacks of spillover is doubled when crafting flasks, increases the effectiveness of the same thing by 5, and then the first flask you craft per day will grant you a soul-bound conjured version of it at maximum quality. Once again, really good for personal use. So the first one really focuses on personal use and giving you skill points, and then you get multicraft and resourcefulness on the second one. And at the end, increases the effectiveness of spillover by Y% when crafting flasks. I'm guessing this is going to be 10%, but we don't really know. So that's kind of a what is it called? Yeah, kind of like a thing. Placeholder, there we go. Now you can also, like, this is the bulk production, but you can also go into profession files, giving you even more skill points to guarantee the highest rank. So this one, 2 skill points for a total of 50 skill points for the entire skill tree. Whenever you craft files, gain spillover, so you still have spillover over here as well, plus 5 multicraft. The maximum stacks of spillover is doubled, gain 15 skill to all alchemy craft while a file is active. So in this case you could pop a file and get 15 skill to all your crafts, plus 5 multicraft, and at the end we have the same thing, spill over once again. So if you want to make flasks either for personal use or for making gold, you really want to go into this skill tree. Next up we have potent potions, so we have this one gives you plus 2 skill when crafting potions for a total of plus 60 for the entire skill tree, and whenever you consume a potion you have a chance to retain the file. Same thing, resourcefulness, learning subspec, resourcefulness, and at the end learning to make Algerian potion cauldrons. Over here we only have bulk production right now. I don't know if the other one is coming, we could see the profession thing over there as well. For now we only have a bulk production. This gives you plus 1 multicraft when crafting potions, so you can get plus 25 multicraft, and we have the exact same thing over again, spill over for multicraft, and giving you more resourcefulness and focusing on both spill over and also resourcefulness. So if you want to make potions and make gold for making potions, this really is the specialization that you want to have. For me, I think flasks are better than potions, but maybe that's just me. I think flasks has always been what I personally prefer over potions. And then lastly we have Thaumaturgy. So Thaumaturgy, first of all, you have 55 skill points you can put in here, and for every single one you get plus 1 skill to Thaumaturgy and transmutations per point in the specialization. Now, further than that, we also allow you to attempt to perform the acts of Thaumaturgy. You have a chance to receive additional transmutagen when performing Act of Thaumaturgy, learning a subspec. Performing Act of Thaumaturgy now have a chance to create a core way catalyst, which we'll get more into in some crafts here. Performing Act of Thaumaturgy now sometimes reveal a beautiful gemstone. Performing Thaumaturgy now grants gleaming transmutagen. Learn how to transmute gleaming transmutagen into a random combination of mundane transmutagens. The first act of Thaumaturgy every single day yields a significant amount of extra transmutagens. Going this further, we have transmutation, plus 1 skill per point in this case, empower your Philosopher's Stone, increasing the maximum number of transmutation charges you can accrue by 2, gaining plus 3 skill, plus 5 resourcefulness, further empower your Philosopher's Stone, increasing the frequency in which you can perform transmutations, gain plus 8 skill when doing transmutations, and resourcefulness right here, and giving you another 5 charges of transmute. I really hope they will recharge faster as well, but at least we have more charges now. Transmutations now also grant gleaming transmutagen, that's the one we already had. You also have a chance to receive additional gleaming transmutagen when performing Act of Thaumaturgy, and learning how to transmute mundane transmutagens into gleaming transmutagens. You have a chance to receive even more of the transmutagens right there. Learn Gleaming Glory, which allows you to turn the rarest transmutagens into impressive gemstones, highly coveted by prestigious druidcrafters. Then we have this one, learn how to transmute mercurial transmutagen using volatile and ominous transmutagens. You may now discover mercurial transmutations by performing Thaumaturgy on mercurial transmutagen. Then you have a chance to receive additional mercurial transmutagens when performing Act of Thaumaturgy or transmutations. And then we have the same thing over here as well, so even a bigger chance in this case. And Act of Thaumaturgy with mercurial materials now yield a small amount of ominous transmutagens. Then we have this one right here, which focuses on the volatile. So we have the volatile transmutagens, and we have the same thing over again. So all of these ones are different materials based on different transmutagens. This one focuses on mercurial, this one focuses on volatile, and this one focuses on the ominous ones. or the mercurial ones. So there we go, that's basically what alchemy is for. Now to give you a quick recap of what I would do. When it comes to alt armies, I would go into Thaumaturgy for the daily cooldowns, because you can increase the amount of the cooldowns you have. In this case, you can accrue 5 more charges and 2 more charges, and you also get a lot more skill while doing transmute, and you get both resourcefulness and multicraft while doing transmute, so you can both make more transmute, save materials while doing transmute, and you get a lot more stuff while doing transmute. For example, right here, you will now give you gleaming transmutagen while doing regular transmute, and you just start making more gold from your transmutes basically, and you can do better transmutes, more often transmute, accrue more transmutes as well. For passive gold making, Thaumaturgy is absolutely great, it's looking like, and it was the same thing in Dragonflight, and we have the same thing over again. When it comes to active crafting, we have potions or flasks. You can basically pick your poison here. If you want to go into the flask market, go into the flask market. If you want to go into the potion market, go into that one as well. What I will say is that if you want to do both, I would have one alchemist for flask and one for potions. The thing is, in order to max this out, you first of all want to max out your skill tree. So you want to have fantastic flasks, then you want to have bulk production, then you want to have profession files. This will be 80 skill points in total. After that, you also need to go into alchemical mastery for those skill points for another 50 skill points, and then you probably want to spend some over here as well, just to get as much skill as you can to guarantee the highest rank, aka tier 3 for those flasks. So when it comes to crafting flasks or potions, pick one. Don't do both to begin with. You can do both eventually, but pick one for now. And if you want to do both, have 2 alchemists. I know that sounds dumb, sounds boring, but if you want to go into both, I would strongly recommend having 2 alchemists, because you have a limited amount of these Cas Algar alchemy knowledges available to you. You get 1 whenever you're doing the first skill point, so when you're crafting something for the first time, you can see you have a first craft bonus, giving you, first of all, it gives you 1 artisan's acuity. I think that's how you say that one, artisan's acuity. We have this one, so it gives you between 1 and 5 of those depending on the difficulty of the craft. You also get 1 skill point or 1 knowledge point that you can then apply, so you need 80 of those to max out the fantastic flasks talent tree, and then you need another 50 of them to go into alchemical mastery. So these will be gained by first of all doing the first time craft, and then doing dailies or weeklies, and maybe by doing some other, like finding the treasures as well, like we did in Dragonflight. So the point is, you have limited amount of knowledge points that you can spend, in which case if you want to maximize your profits really early, you want to take either flasks or potions, and once you have maxed out your 1 talent tree, you go to alchemical mastery, and there we go. Now it is also worth noting that all of this was being made on the alpha for the War Within. A couple of things could change, and if they do, I will keep you guys up to date on what the updates are, and if anything is changing based on those updates. If you want to have more gold making information, I am working on a War Within gold making guide, which you can find the links to all of my gold making guides in the top comment down below, or you can also support me on Patreon, where I'm sharing the hottest gold making secrets. We made tens of millions of gold the first couple of months of Dragonflight, and it was absolutely crazy. We had one way of making gold, which was making hundreds of millions of gold. Not to me personally, but to a lot of people it made a bunch of gold, and I'm sharing everything I know, whether that is borderline exploits, the best farms in the game, the best crafts in the game. We find everything, and I share everything. And if you have my gold making guide, you get access to a gold making Discord server where you get access to those tips and tricks before anyone else. Same thing goes on Patreon. So I'm making Patreon posts and I'm keeping you updated on Discord and through early access to gold making videos as well. So if you want to support me a little bit extra, check out my gold making guide or become a Patreon member, and I'll do my best to make you millions of gold in the War Within. Either way, that's the video for today. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you again in the next video very soon.